All right, everybody. We're locked up here like the rest of you, coronavirus at home, so I'm going to try to make a video about beaded lizards. I want to share a couple quick things with you guys about how I've raised a couple of these up from hatchling and got them to a place where they really can be easily handled, and really just kept them out of the defensive state and the aggressive state, and I got them to a place where you can handle them all the time and not be worried about getting bit. So considering getting one of these guys as a pet, I think they're awesome. They're really great. If they didn't have the potential for delivering a very significant bite, they would be just as popular as any monitor or bearded dragon for that matter. They're really, really cool. And when they get some age on them and some confidence in themselves, they're typically slow moving, mellow, curious, and pretty easy to work with. Requirements are very basic. A little bit of heat on one side of the cage, some climbing branches, enough water to where they can actually completely submerge. They do like water a lot, so you want something big enough that they can hang out in and get totally submerged in there, and they'll sometimes sit in the water for days on end. But what I've noticed with handling these guys is that for the most part, I tend to avoid, especially when they're babies, I tend to avoid like the 9 to 3 area. So when you're looking down on this animal, imagine that it's a clock, and straight off the tip of his nose would be 12 o'clock, and then straight off his left arm would be like 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You guys can figure that out. So this area over here, coming over the top of this animal from this area here, if they're going to get defensive, they can kind of buck up real quick and bite you from that direction. If you approach from the back or underneath their chin, they really can't bite you quickly from that angle, and I feel like they don't feel threatened. If you come over the top of them like this, in the wild, that's where any predator is going to come from. So I've seen some videos of people trying to take a snappy baby and get it accustomed to being handled, and they're coming right over the top of the thing's head, trying to scratch the top of its head, and it's just bucking up repeatedly and getting super defensive. And obviously that's not the state of mind that you want them to be in at all. You want them to be in a state of mind where they're curious, they're checking out their surroundings, and they're not in that defensive state at all. You want them out of that state of mind, because that's where they're going to feel like they're threatened, and they're going to possibly bite you. The bite on these guys is pretty significant. It's not going to kill you. It's not the type of venom that's going to stop your heart or make your hand rot off, but it is extremely painful. From what I hear, I've never been bitten. I hope I never am, but it is extremely painful. They have these huge masseter muscles. My kids are going friggin' crazy in the room next door. Anyway, they have these huge masseter muscles on the side of their jaws there, and they've got some pretty big teeth, and of course they have these venom glands that most of you guys know about, but they are venomous. They have venom glands underneath their jaw. They don't have fangs, like hollow fangs, like a viper or anything like that, or a venomous snake, but they have grooves in those teeth, and the venom works its way up from the venom glands into whatever they're biting. This is a pain venom only. This is not the type of venom that is built or made to stop a prey item from moving, say like in a rattlesnake. They bite that mouse and they immediately want that mouse's heart to stop beating, and they want that mouse to die so they can go and find it again. That is not what this pain is developed for, or this venom is developed for. These guys develop this venom strictly for pain. So it is their main defense. Their go-to defense is to bite. So that's why you want to really try to keep them out of that defensive state and in one where they're just treating you as an inanimate object. Basically, you're just a branch or a tree that's moving a little bit. You're not threatening at all. These animals are very familiar with my smell, and they're not going to be worried at all about me trying to injure them or bite or eat them or whatever like that. So they're pretty calm around me. Now, one thing I've noticed is that coming from underneath, under the chin, is a great way to get them accustomed to being handled and accustomed to interactions with humans. So when they were babies, and they were nippy little babies, you open the cage, they're immediately up with their mouth open, and give them a little bit of time, let them calm down. When they start to poke their head up out of the cage, give them a little bit of a chin rub. And if you feel more comfortable wearing gloves doing that, that's totally cool. What you don't want to do is handle these guys in this fashion here, to where you're actually restraining them from moving, holding them back, you know, because some people are worried about them biting, so they're gonna like really restrict them from moving, hold on to their neck like you're ready to milk a freaking cobra or something. That is gonna put this animal in the state of mind that you don't want it to be in at all. Hold on, we got to run away. Get back here. You don't want them in the state of mind where they feel like they're being restrained, they're being held back. They're, you know, going to go into defensive mode there, and that's when you may encounter an animal that is ready to bite you. So I like to let them crawl freely. If you're not comfortable with letting them do that without gloves, then wear gloves by all means. No shame in that at all. Once you get it to a place where that animal isn't getting all hissy and pissy with you all the time, then you can maybe take the gloves off. And typically, if they're not being restrained and you're not coming from an over-the-top aggressive angle on the animal, I don't think that you're going to get bit. If they're going to bite you, they're going to let you know. It's up to you to be reading their body language a little bit. Not come from an aggressive place over the top. These animals are not passive-aggressive. They're not going to do something sneaky with it. Like, okay, I'm going to let this guy hold me for a while, then I'm going to bite him when he least expects it. That's not the case at all. If they're hissing and puffing up and opening their mouth, obviously that's not the time to try to handle that animal and you know, make friends with them. But you got to introduce yourself in a cordial way, and that means that you're going at that animal's pace. You're not going at your pace. You want to tell this animal that you're not going to eat them, and they don't need to worry about it. That's what you're trying to tell them, and it may take several months for you to tell them that in their own way, because you're going at their pace, not yours. But I definitely think that the under the chin rub is great, especially as babies when they first come out. Nothing attacks them in the wild from underneath the chin, nothing. And something else I found to be beneficial with these guys is to keep them in pairs. Don't even have to be sexual pairs, male and female or whatever. As babies, I would keep two of them together. I feel like the constant stimulation of one crawling over the other one, seeing movement constantly and all that really helps with their ability to become socialized as the future goes on. If you keep an animal totally by itself, any stimulation at all might get that animal really nervous, and then you're going to have a harder time getting it to a point where it's not going to feel threatened by, you know, like your hand coming in the cage, for example. So keeping one or more or two or more of them together, I don't think it's a bad thing. Obviously, as they get a little bit older, we don't want two males together possibly sparring with each other, injuring themselves and each other. But keeping two of them together as babies, I think, is a good thing to get a little bit of added stimulation from another animal, or another beaded lizard to be specific. They can be picked up by the tail in this fashion here. It's not going to hurt them at all. They're not going to drop their tail. And when I have them outside, sometimes I'll put them on the cement and just do a little back drag action. Helps to take the edge off of their nails, that very really sharp tip, grind them down a little bit. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Beaded lizards are great. I think they make great pets. They do take some time. Obviously, you got to be a little bit more careful of that bite than you would, say, another animal that doesn't have a venomous bite. Not going to be so dangerous, but for someone that wants to put the time in, and a keeper that really wants to commit some time and has the want of you know, owning something that's a little bit higher on the Richter scale, you could say, of reptile keeping. These guys are great. Their care is very basic, and I love them. So, if you have any questions, reach out. Thanks for watching.